and welcome back to VALORANTING. I do want to cuss. I personally think that is fucking bullshit. What can I do for you? What can I do for you, dudes? This is the best produced podcast I've ever been in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to VALORANTING. I'm WTF Moses, joined once again by Matt and Valley, and we have lots to talk about this week. An absolutely huge week that was in the esports scene in Valorant. We've got some comms from the developers, as we always do. No patch this week because they're actually taking a break or something, I guess, and we'll see a patch later. But I mean, imagine taking a break during a pandemic, really. Matt, how you feeling?
I'm good, man. We finally have gotten through the chaos of qualifiers, it seems like, for First Strike. So I'm excited to get that whole phase of competition out of the way. I love the fact that it's open, anybody can compete, but it very difficult to follow at times. So now I'm happy we can only focus on a few teams.
Veli, you appear to be in an unknown location this week.
Yep.
I
Pick walls.
not sure if we can disclose where you are, but it's someone's grandmother's bathroom.
It's a bedroom, man. She puts on her dresses.
Wait,
and
are
stuff.
you
The
really
room
in a
is
bath?
pink.
Wait, you're not in a bathroom, are you?
I'm not in the bath. No, Moses
Oh.
is playing me right now. Okay.
Ah.
No, I'm excited. But yeah, a week without a patch means that's a week that we don't get another breach buff. So I mean, I'm happy for that. But First Strike is coming, baby. I'm ready. The news we heard today, Moses, is insane.
That is the other thing we wanted to talk about. So obviously we have this later, but you guys must have seen the news of the Valorant Master Series and all the other series that will go along with it, eventually culminating in next December. The 2021 roadmap essentially has been laid out in various flow charts and other graphs that we will review rather at the towards the end of the show. But let's first start with this. This is regarding maps. So the lack of maps has been a conversation piece in Valorant for quite some time. The most recent map, Icebox, has received what we will call a cold shoulder.
A warm welcome.
That was
Let's hear from the developers who are talking about maps. I believe this is Ziegler.
I think everyone's biggest request has been, how do we get more maps? So I'm just going to start there and work backward. Our top priority is increasing our competitive map pool so that you get a diverse range of strategic experiences and settings every night. 4 maps is definitely not enough, and with 5 we're on our way, but I still don't think that's ideal. I'd say we need at least a couple more before we can feel comfortable with our map diversity relative to the needs of both competitive and casual play. We've also heard requests for opening up community maps or modding to trial by fire some new map experiences into Valorant. Believe me when I tell you we understand the incredible value of community-made maps. Many of our designers, artists, and engineers were recruited from that modding community. This is a discussion we have all the time. It's one Sal Garozzo, senior game designer on maps, has been a constant advocate for. But I'll be straight with you. Building a scalable community sharing platform and a set of map-making tools would take us years of development to get off the ground, not to mention a different team and even more time spent supporting it in the long term. When we weighed that against other content we could make, with the team we already have, the choice was pretty clear to focus on content. We want each new map we introduce to be fully supported and integrated within the Valorant ecosystem. A new map should feel grounded in the IP, and we need to have the ability to make balance changes or address exploits as we see them. Fine-tuning a map for competitive play is a long,
I've heard enough. I don't want to hear it anymore.
What?
I'm mad. I'm mad about this.
Tell them why you mad, Moses.
Okay, okay. Riot, I hope you're listening. This is purely professional feedback. Okay, I'm not gonna stoop to personal stuff. Of course, I never would. But the idea here is, hold on, let me move this down a little bit. See, this is why I never move my camera. There we go. Perfect. I want to get nice and in. I'm gonna put that right there.
Go.
Okay,
Yep.
so here's the problem. Community-made maps are like the heart and soul of so many games, and I'm glad that they were able to identify that 4 maps were not enough and that they're going to make more, and that they made 5, but they're still not happy with that. I think we're all in the same boat there. So I'm glad that was
We can all agree.
said. we can all agree it's not enough. He didn't really say anything. He basically said like, we agree that's not enough, and boy howdy, we're going to do some more to make some more maps. Also, as much as we would like to get the community tools and development and all that stuff out there, it would take years of development. It would not take years. You don't have the map tools, just pack them up and throw them out there, let the people play with them, that kind of stuff. But all the great maps in FPS games, Counter-Strike, were made by the community. Taking that process away for some sort of like, well, we really believe we just kind of do it better, which is essentially what he said. Like, we believe that we want to keep it for in-house, first party, true to the IP, all this other stuff. It's gonna take forever, and you're doing design by committee. He mentioned Sal in the video though, in the video there. If I'm not mistaken, that's FMP1, right? Is that not Sal?
I'm not sure. I know Sal made Cash in CS:GO.
Right. Yeah. So that's that. FMP1 is I believe it's the same person. Anyway, so he is the guy that sold Cash. I imagine sold it to Valve for them to use it, but he still is the only person who maintains the map. It's his.
Jeez.
So every other map, Dust 2, all the other popular maps were made by community or amateur map makers, and then eventually were integrated into the full product. Tell me why you want to stray from that now. Matt, what do you think their thoughts are here?
I think opening up map creation to the community would be a good thing. I also think it leaves them open to a ton of criticism with their own map design. When you let the community start to develop maps, and the community kind of it lets because what Riot is trying to do now, and I think what any kind of company would want to do here at the beginning of a game is grow, expand. You get the community used to the style of maps, the style of agents you're going to introduce. When you give all those tools to community and let them run, you can't really kind of control the flow in that way. You know what I'm saying? The game becomes what the community wants, as opposed to let's try and build a community around this game, this ecosystem that we're creating. So I think like this makes sense from their perspective. I don't know if it's good for the game though. Call of Duty's never had like a map creator, but they've always gave you 12 to 15 maps. Like there's a lot of map, and then you get like one a quarter. Overwatch, they've given you a ton of maps, and they've given you the workshop, which doesn't let you edit the maps, but it lets you create all different types of custom game modes. You can change anything on the characters, make them grow, like whatever, make fun custom games. There needs to be some type of tool here for the community. But the also other part of it is there's no like custom game browser, right? So even if people made community maps, how would you go about playing them? There'd be no way to go search for them and play them. So somebody would have to make it and then kind of share it and play custom games, I guess. But then that takes so many players out of the matchmaking queue. It just creates a lot of issues.
It's the clash, Valley, between old and new ideology. It almost feels like like Riot would have seen all the they all have come from this successful background, or this area of modding and community tools and everything. They would have seen that. So do you think it's the question more is why aren't these tools already a part of the ecosystem? Like why was that not considered at the beginning?
Doesn't matter. Even if you didn't have it in the past, why not do it now? So the way I'm looking at it, I mean, look at the biggest games in the world right now. Take a look at Minecraft. Take a look at what happened in Halo. Take a look at, Roblox. Imagine them bottlenecking their own success by not giving the gamers, the community on a free-to-play game, an opportunity to create their own map.
Did you say Roblox?
Roblox is pretty big.
Yeah, Roblox
but hear what I'm saying though. Hear what I'm saying though. People are able to create their own maps, and it doesn't have to be just a map for competitive Valorant play. It could be maps just for fun, maps for racing, which is anything out there. So you're taking away a category that can create a ton of content for your game that can make your game even bigger than it is now, and that's not there. So I think that should be brought into the discussion more, and they should highly consider it because you're bottlenecking your success at that point.
So here's what I would see happening. You brought up Halo, Valley, which we both love Halo. I mean,
keep it going.
Go way back. We all love Halo. A new Halo game releases. It has Forge. People don't like the maps. What do? They recreate, Midship, they recreate Pit, like they recreate these
Oh,
maps, and then now you're not even really playing the new. You're just playing the new game with the engine, the guns, but just the old maps. Uh, does anyone not think that somebody would create, like, if Valorant had a system that they would create Dust 2, that they would create a map just like Cash, that they
yeah.
would, it would become like they would just go in and take all their favorite CS maps. They'd kind of, I know, maybe change some things here and there, but they would all just kind of come into Valorant and just take it over. I mean, that's what everybody would want to play.
Mhm.
Where we go back to the point that I was trying to make, where you kind of lose everything as the developer at that point of, like, well, what do we do? Like, do we just kind of give in and say, yeah, this is like, CS2, and just kind of make maps in the same vein, or try and push the genre forward, which is what they're trying to aim for here?
Yeah. Um, that's actually a really damn good question.
Yeah.
Moses, I'm on the blank right now because there's just so many ways and venues you can go about this, really. And even as a developer, if you see the community, they develop these maps and their own ideology of the game, right? Who says that they can't learn from it? We put our
Okay.
ego and pride aside, and what's up?
I was gonna say let's kind of let's kind of bring it back a little bit, because I don't think that there's any expectation of these tools to be created just for this specific purpose.
Yeah.
However, the issue here is that there are not enough maps.
Right.
Yes.
Why is that an issue now? Like, what, like, maybe it was the rush, not a rush, but the urgency to get Valorant out the door and playable and that kind of thing. But and a lot of people are kind of memeing on the idea of taking tried and true designs, and I think Dust 2 would probably be a too far gone. But like an overpass, cache, like, there's, you don't want to rip off Counter Strike, because I think Valorant is really trying to stake out its own identity,
Yeah.
but you also don't want to get so far in your own way that you prevent content from coming out at a pace that is important for the community.
Yeah.
So I don't really know how you can't really force creativity when it comes to map design, because maps can be garbage easily. Like,
Yep.
I'm sure there's just as many shitty maps out there. There's probably way more shitty maps than there is even near good ones. So I guess the question is, for me, Matt, is Riot ever going to be able to swallow the pride a little bit, and just kind of maybe start inspired designs of maps that maybe have had some
Well,
fame in the
you're,
past?
I feel like you're almost forced to, because I mean, think about like tactical shooters and whatnot. A lot of maps are like fairly similar. So like, how far can you deviate from the history of the genre without kind of really pissing a lot of people who are fans of the genre off, right? I mean, that's kind of, I think, what you see the initial reaction with uh Icebox happen, where it kind of turned off a lot of players who have played this genre for a very long time, where you're almost in this spot. And also, the one thing you kind of have that you could always like kind of change and play around with map design around is usually like a game mode, right? Like, we've all played different games in the past. Like, hey, a map plays better on a certain game type than another. You design a certain map for one game type versus another game type, etc. You only have one game type here, so you're really like you have a lot of limiting factors. Like, you have one game type, you have like two or three games in the genre that have already come out that have huge followings that you don't want to necessarily like copycat, and you want to kind of push it forward without pissing people off. So you're really going to have like three huge things working against you, which probably slows down map design, because they want to make sure they get these maps right, or they're at least in a spot where they feel good enough for the public to play them. So I don't know if it's exactly like an issue where it's like tough to work on them and get them out the door. I think it's more of like conceptually, like, where do they go with these maps?
Yeah, and I kind of want
Right.
to, like, from everything that I did say, I don't want us to sound like babies. Like, yeah, put everything in the game that we want, whatever. It obviously wasn't an intention of theirs. It's just that, like you said, Moses, we wish there were just more maps.
Hmm.
I guess my baseline critique here is, don't, like, these dev comms are great, but let's communicate something. Don't come out and say, like, we know that 4 maps is not enough. That's why we made a 5th map, and we're planning to make more. Of course you are.
Yes.
Of course you are. Like we assume that is the case. So as good as those comms are and is much appreciated, let's try and get some traction and maybe this throw us a bone here and there. You guys they I remember them teasing now and again. Throw us a map render. Show us something that that there's just give us
Show us a layout.
Yeah.
Show us a
nibble.
layout.
Just give us a little nibble. A layout or a 2D map or
One of the lanes or something.
one of the
Tease
fluff
us.
ass. Like what they did with the shoes in Split.
Yeah.
Just the shop. Just show us the garnish if you want. Just give us something.
Yeah, I think Ryan Central made a good point in the chat, which was that if
Show us some feet.
that if
Oh, no, that's Daniel.
no, that's show feet's a great point, but that if Icebox was map number 6 through 8, we wouldn't really be having this type of crazy kind of conversation. But because it was the first map that's come out since release, and they went this direction with it, that's where I think people are so worried of like what is next. Like,
Yep.
so I think that's kind of that's a great point. That I think if let's say if Icebox was already in the game and like Ascent came out now, people would probably feel much better about where it was going, right? Than where they currently
Ascent
are.
just came into the game and people were like, huh, and then it was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
Icebox people were like, oh, and then it was like, no, this is actual trash. So without us sitting here and ripping on Icebox, let's hear it from the people who matter.
No!
Is it Icebox?
I'm not playing.
No!
I'm not playing.
Okay, it's fine. One more
I'm
time.
not playing.
Just
I'm
one,
not playing.
John,
I'm
one
not
last
playing.
time. John, one last time.
I'm not playing.
Oh, they dodged.
I think
Fine,
John
fine.
dodged.
Wait, John, you dodged?
No, I didn't dodge.
They dodged,
But I was
they dodged.
going to 100%. That map is made for fuck asses. It's the worst map I've ever played.
That was the fastest dodge. Dude, I can't. Icebox is so bad.
So that is, that kind of sits on its own. You
Yeah.
can't really extrapolate much more information that wasn't directly handed to you in that video. So not only did they want to dodge, but the opposing team dodged before them.
Yeah.
So literally nobody that was in that map wanted to play it.
Yeah,
tell
my
you what-
homies hate Icebox.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the games that I get when Icebox comes up, somebody dodges as well. This is not just something that's happening at the higher ranks of play, but it's happening all over the game. And I say higher
Right,
ranks.
right.
I'm in Diamond, but I still don't consider that high. I mean, the stuff I see is just insane. But
Diamond, it's not that big. It's it's just where I'm at right now. I'm trying to transition, of course, into Immortal.
yeah, trying to get there.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, when there's a lot of obvious instances in the past of various games where people are like, nope, dodging queues, or I did shit, man. I used to do it in PUBG with some of their maps. So it's like, it's one of the most obvious ways for a developer to look at the stats, and I know they have them, to say what is the rate in which players are exiting Icebox queues, and that will be the tail. We don't know that number. Well, obviously we have hyperbolic, videos like that one, and we can say that no one wants to play it and stuff, but really data is what drives decisions, and I would love to see the data on Icebox and its reception since it came out.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time I go on Twitter, well, it has happened like a week or so, but I would always see people say, I played Icebox 3 times in a row, and I can't stand it. So it's like, some of those players that really don't like that map, it's like, Riot's like, we're going to show you, you're going to learn today. And they just give that map over and over again. It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
man.
yeah, exactly. Like, oh, you don't like it? Well, you got to
There
eat
you
your
go.
fucking Brussels sprouts, so here's some
Comes
more.
Often.
Yeah, so, I mean, the argument that I'm seeing in the chat right now is that people need to learn to adapt. But at the same time, Riot made Counter-Strike. So I mean, it's like I mean they've made a game that has been adapted from something else. So adaptation only goes so far.
Yeah.
And I think that Split was one of those maps that had the same discussion. So Matt, I think you've got some strong thoughts on this one. But Split underwent some serious changes and has gotten to a point where it's not really in the discussion anymore. Is Icebox eligible for the same treatment in your mind?
It's going to be much harder because a lot of the issues are the verticality, right? So I mean, that's not something where Split, the issue is like mid, right, where they could open that up. You can throw some boxes in, make it a little bit easier, and splits become something that I think everybody's kind of okay with, right? Uh,
Yeah.
I don't know how you fix a map in terms of like its size, and just kind of the verticality of it. Like, can you remove a bunch of assets and move like bomb sites and stuff? But then it's not even like the same map anymore, right? You're just making
No.
like a Frankenstein version of it, where I think it'll be much harder to turn Icebox around as it was Split. I think Split, they had the layout down, and I think the size was right. It was just one part of the map on Split that was like really the big issue,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, mid.
Icebox, the issue is just everywhere, right? Because it's the verticality.
It's all of it.
Yeah, the issue is just everywhere because it's the size and the verticality. So it's going to be much harder to take that back.
It's gonna be hard, but they have to make changes one way or another. I really like it's the aesthetic. Like we talked about Volskaya from Overwatch when it first came out. I just don't know where are the bones good? It's like a reno house. Like you want to take a look at the foundation. You want to see like, oh, do we have any rot down here? Like what's going on with the goddamn furnace? I really don't know if the bones are good enough in Icebox for them to be able to adapt it to a point where it is quote unquote good or passable, or at least not something that you're wanting to dodge every time you see it. So it's a matter of time, and on God, I really hope we do start to see some in the same. There's nothing wrong with adapting Dust 2. It's a formula that works. We'll call it what would we call Dust 2 in Valorant? What do you
Dust
think it would be
3.
called?
That's 3, yeah,
Or
exactly.
like a tumbleweed or something else
Not
like
dust.
that. VA_Swiffer or something
Yeah.
like that. Who knows? Well, I don't know. We'll have to leave that open. What would you call the Dust 2 version of Valorant? We'll have to put that on Twitter.
The chat, they said
so-
Dust.
Yeah, the Valorant Dust 2. What would it be called? Ask Valorant. We had that recently as well, just last week. So let's cover some of the hot topics in here. I don't think there was anything particularly
Not really.
groundbreaking in this one. I like that they're making it a weekly thing, but sometimes there's nothing in here. I really like to know how many hours my friends and I have spent in the game. Okay, don't care. Will we ever be able to transfer account regions without losing hundreds? Oh, that's a good one. This is something we definitely know is important. So basically, you can't change regions with your accounts without losing all your skins, which is
Wow.
stupid. So anyway, this is to prevent probably account selling and stuff like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is something we definitely know is important and is on our list behind a couple of other critical priorities for Valorant. I.e., we're gonna answer this every once in a while and say we're really looking hard at it. We'd like it to be sooner, but it's looking like this option will be available towards the middle of 2021. Okay, well at least they put a date on it. There you go. Shout out to Naoi. Oh, I don't. I'm okay. Fair enough. Anyone want to say that name? No.
Creven.
Preven. Shout out to Preven. So have you thought about certain patches for tournaments existing on their own servers? Tournament realms are something we're actively pursuing and are coming soon. Yay!
Yeah.
There you go. So that's all I need to hear. So that is going to avoid, and obviously is probably a learning portion of what happened with the previous patch in the first strike qualifiers, where we've talked about it. So having a tournament realm that lives in its own, that is stable and ready for tournament play at any time, good.
Yeah.
So I would solicit opinions from the gallery, but I don't think anyone disagrees. So new tournaments. Let's talk about it. We have some new tournaments coming. It's not the one that we're talking about at the end of the show, so don't worry about that. We have the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Championships. They're about to get radiant. And there's a snowflake emoji, which is great. From January 13th to the 17th, compete in our $25,000 Play Valorant Winter Championship for the next qualifier register at Nerd Street Gamers. So Nerd Street has been putting tournaments on since basically day one. They've done a great job. They've got a great crew over there. A lot of great moments in Valorant's early history happened with Nerd Street tournaments, and they're going to continue to push these things. They've been a great source of I'll say revenue, but a great platform for amateur or upcoming players to get their starts. A lot of these teams like Moon Raccoons, you name it, really. Some of these guys that weren't at the top right at the beginning came up through those Nerd Street Gamers $10,000 monthly tournaments, and it's great to see them continuing to put this stuff on. And we'll discuss it all in general, but I want to talk about JBL, the Quantum Cup. You know, they're a new entry, a relatively recent entry. JBL Quantum, the gaming arm of JBL, the subwoofer that you had in your 2002 Civic. They're entered the gaming landscape, and they're going to have an 8-team invite-only North American event with $50,000 on the line. 100 Thieves is the only confirmed team, yet Sinatra is confirmed to appear on stream because he's sponsored by JBL. Maybe Sentinels will be there also.
That is so odd.
It is odd. Like Sinatra will be there.
Sinatra's
but the rest of
gonna
Sentinels
appear
will
on
not
stream in some capacity.
He'll be talking about how great JBL is. Just one incredible weekend where you can win 100 Thieves. You can win pros playing games. The hottest game. 100,000 prize pool. Quantum Cup, JBL, PUBG, Valorant. What the fuck is happening?
I would have loved to have been in the room when somebody was like, "Yeah, we need to add the hottest games in there."
Only the hottest. Hold on. Let me just Google the hottest games really quick. I'm literally gonna Google the hottest video games.
Does it come with the list?
Apex Legends, Far Cry New Dawn, PUBG, Valorant. You know, like it's just the marketing people in the rooms. We really gotta get some. We gotta get some gamers in there, dude. Because like,
you know what though, they're trying.
It's like by committee. It's like by committee. Like, okay, we want to come up with a gaming tournament. And by the way, I will happily work your gaming tournament, JBL. Don't listen to me after this part. Anyway, it's like. We want to get into gaming. We need all the biggest gamers. Let's sponsor people. Okay, what do we need? Well, we need a product first. What are we gonna make? JBL headsets with massive bass technology, etc.
Put Sinatra on the stream.
Yeah, but then just show like Sinatra doing like a slow quarter turn in like a half lit room, and then that's what you got. And then just
That's
like
it.
PUBG, Apex, other games, Quantum.
Get your
JBL.
headsets.
Get them. You know, at least I'm glad that JBL has determined 20 years too late that it's time to get into gaming.
Time.
At least they're getting into it now. You know, that'll be a good tournament. It's an invite only, right? So
it is. It will be invite only.
50K invite only. I mean, you gotta expect it. ESL is running it, correct?
Yeah, I think that's because it's 3 tournaments. I think I saw that ESL was on the graphic.
I think we might get some good formats.
Someone at JBL was like, "Oh, looks like we got an extra 100K in Q4 ad spend. Let's get something together here."
Right.
So anyway, so I'm glad to see it. It's obviously any Valorant tournament play is good Valorant tournament play. And I know ESL will do a good job with it. But it's great. Good for them. I'm happy that we have more tournaments to watch and talk about. And probably never speak of, unfortunately, again.
It's good for the scene. Don't do that now.
It is good for the scene, but you know what? I don't like 8-team invite-only tournaments. I thought we were past that. That's the only thing that I'm.
He
not
likes
a fan
8-team best of 1 invite-only tournaments. So those are his favorite. Yeah.
We'll wait for the JBL EU Cup for that
give
one.
Give me a 4-hour event.
yeah. I want my day rate, and I want to be in and out of there before lunch.
Yeah.
Sorry, I said D block out loud. So we also have some other regions. We have Korea. Obviously, they've got their tournament together. This is the First Strike Korea finals bracket. I have not actively been watching Korean Valorant. Unfortunately, there's just with all the qualifiers ongoing in North America and Europe, it's just a bridge too far for me personally. But it is set. So. Matt, anything standing out here to you that you've also been playing close attention to?
Potential semifinals match between Vision Strikers and C9 Korea. That'll probably be the game to watch out of all of this. To be quite frankly, I think that whoever wins that game could easily be your champion of Korea. So if there's one game you watch from this entire thing, obviously I would say watch the finals regardless. But I think Vision Strikers versus Cloud9 Korea will probably be the best game.
Yeah, Vision Strikers, they're looking pretty stacked too. I was reading up on them after my cross country drive, and there's just 2 players I definitely want to watch more of. Glow and RB. I mean, I know a lot about RBs, like their main duelists, but both of them are in the top 4 for KD. Like when it comes to everything, they're running the stat lines. And Vision Strikers, we've been talking about them since I first came on this show. They've been amazing. So I haven't watched too much of them. I'm disappointed in that, but I definitely want to start like grinding it now.
So, I think that the Korean scene is exciting. The unfortunate aspect, and I said this last time we talked about Korea, is we can be as hype as we like about Korea until we see them in the context of an international tournament. Yeah, we have to see them stacked up against everybody else.
Yes.
And that's the last word on Korea for me for right now. Japan in the same boat. We obviously have the First Strike Japan finals participants laid out as well. I think that the Japanese scene is definitely #1 overall in logos. So I don't like they have a raccoon team of their own. I'm really liking the recent resurgence in raccoon themed teams. I think this is if you're buying stonks on any team logos right now, buy heavy on raccoons.
Yep.
A lot of buy heavy on raccoons right now. And also whatever the F is going on with Blackbird Ignis's logo.
Yeah.
I like it. I love it. That's like a 9-tailed fox and like a raven with a crown. But the crazy raccoon dressed up as the Statue of Liberty for a Japanese team.
They're my favorite team in any region.
I want them to win everything.
Yeah, I'm a big Crazy Raccoon fan.
It says crazy raccoon.
Yeah, the C is a little wild as well.
That's a
He is
you, dog.
crazy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know much
the
about
rabbit
this, but
raccoon.
I'm gonna see. Do they have other?
I love the mid '80s roller rink logo of Fave Gaming. Like, come on in. We have a bowling alley and an arcade where you can spend your time. And you know what? The reason we're talking about the logos only is because none of us know what the is going on with Japanese.
Yeah.
So anyway, same boat there. Let's see what teams we recognize in the CIS final participants as well. So
Gambit, I know them.
yeah, same. I know Singularity. They had a PUBG team. Forza. They are comprised entirely of cheaters, if I recall correctly, or something like that. Not the players, obviously, but Forza's coaching choices have been questionable recently. So those are the teams. Now we know. That's it. Let's talk about Moon Raccoons now, because that's the topic I've been waiting to talk about for a long time. Moon Raccoons, where I don't think there's anyone who dislikes this team on the entire planet. We have recently an interview was conducted with Rebo, which I intentionally avoided reading because of how ridiculous the replies are. So this is with Run It Back. First off, the question that is on everyone's mind: why Moon Raccoons? And this is from Rebo. Why the hell not? Generations of people have wondered what to name people and teams. What to name people and teams. You know what we said? Fuck it. Moon Raccoons. Not only does it establish fear in the enemy, what's worse than being beat up by a trash panda? Whenever an opponent or a rivalry happens with us and they see a raccoon, you know what they think? They think of us. So to answer the question, you're not going to see a sentinel going outside or a TSM, but a raccoon. That's on the moon. That shit's rad. Next slide, please. Without giving up all your secrets, what type of play style would you say the team has? Purely a style of vibin'.
Yes.
There is a huge emphasis in our team to work together, but not to give a fuck going between each game. Really just put a big point on talking and creating opportunities through teammate pressure, abusing openings, and anti-timing windows to find advantages. More on the attacker side, we use strategies and the same type of style, but for that we don't want to go into any of our reads, or we would be giving away too much away. Purely our style is just to vibe and enjoy each other's company. Vibing, a huge part of strategy in the 2020 Moon Raccoons playbook. Whether you've already faced them or not, what is one team you'd like Moon Raccoons to go up against? It has got to be Sentinels. Every other team we've either played or scrimmed, but never Sentinels. In the end, my personal goal is to sing to every top tier team before our match. Right now, I still need Envy, TSM, and Sentinels, but all those other ones have been sung to, and I have very much enjoyed that.
What?
Singing to Cloud9 was a very fun time because Shinobi told me to please be quiet, and that is something I still hold and cherish to this day. Shinobi may not know this, but if you see this, with that small comment, you have pushed me to not stop until every team hears this voice.
This is amazing.
This is the
I
best
want more
interview.
interviews.
This
Well,
is
don't
the
worry,
best
we have
interview
one-
ever.
We have one more. We have one more. What future goals, short or long term, are on the Moon Raccoons agenda? I feel bad for this interviewer who's like, I'm going to get a serious interview and scoop here. Throughout the whole history of the Moon Raccoons saga, We have lived by one motto, and that one motto only, and one motto only: don't fucking care and play for fun. I've built an IGL for way too many teams that take themselves seriously or care way too much about winning. In the end, this is a game, and teams need to understand that when you put that pressure on yourself to perform, it takes the strongest wills to make the toughest choices. Did he pull that off a cereal box? That sounds like a Wheaties quote.
This is the future.
So going into every match, whether it's a T1 or T3 team, are you saying a T1 or also another T3 team? Team, we take all of them. We take all of them the same. Have fun. Don't care about the result. And if you care about it, get out of the server. We built this team on that principle. It has worked, and we'll keep that throughout the team's existence.
He meant pro, semi-pro, and amateur with that, by the way.
I love the
was
Moon Raccoons.
amazing. I'm a fan.
I'm actually not a fan, and there's a
I was-
reason why.
what?
Okay, and listen, hear me out. I want to get Matt's reaction to the interview first.
I love it. If I was looking for an organization, I don't know if this would be the way I would go about it.
That's correct.
I wouldn't really kind of market myself as we just vibe and
We
hang
just
out.
don't give a fuck.
Yeah, I probably would have said some other things, but I think these answers are fantastic, and I love the Moon Raccoons. And I almost hope they don't get signed, and I almost hope that like the community just like crowd funds the Moon Raccoons, and they can just stay the Moon Raccoons. I think it's a fantastic story.
So that is my major critique as well. I think the interview is amazing. It's great to see personality, especially through that you can it's palpable through text, which is often very difficult. And it's very important to have that kind of thing and have this type of like hometown team, even though hometown is the entirety of the Valorant community. But yes, to Matt's point, not giving a fuck and just straight vibing. It reminds me of like when you're playing NBA 2K and you're playing like the single player mode where like GMs are asking you questions about whether or not they should draft you, and you have like well, it's because I'm a good player, and then you have like the D option, which is like, I don't give a fuck, I want bitches and money.
Or did you see?
and you end up going like 45th or whatever. So
did either of you guys watch the NBA draft?
Yes, I know exactly what to bring it up.
The number one pick before the draft did an interview. I think it was either ESPN or something like that. They kind of asked him like about basketball, and he's like, "Yeah, basketball's okay. I'm much more of like a football guy. Like if I could play football, I would." And like I could just imagine like, and he's like, "Yeah, I don't really watch much basketball." I could just imagine his agent over in the corner is like, "What are you doing? Shut up. Shut up. We're gonna literally hand you $40 million. Shut your mouth."
Hear me out, though. Hear me out. If you're this isn't like traditional sports. This is esports.
No.
And all three of us know there are no fucking rules in esports. There are literally no rules when it comes to stuff like that. And the thing is, if you're an org, you take a look at these lifestyle orgs where they really promote personality and brands and everything. You're telling me that if an org really thinks outside the box, picking up players like that, the marketing ideas, these players are going to be fan favorites now. They're going to get their jerseys purchased. People are going to watch their streams. They're going to want to know what's happening with the team.
Yeah.
They just wants to vibe the fuck out and just clap.
I almost wish
do the worm.
I almost wish we could trade like the whole FaZe Clan team to like Evil Geniuses or Ghost Gaming
Put them
and
there.
get the Moon Raccoons to FaZe, because the just vibing, not giving a fuck seems to be
very FaZe.
The very FaZe. I mean, I feel like with a FaZe
Crush
clan
and
behind them,
G-Fuel.
yeah, this would just balloon into something that's way bigger than what they probably realize it would.
It's amazing. Put them on
I can-
Optic. Come on, Hex.
Yeah, put them on Optic. I can't. I'm happy for them. I would love to see the crowdfunding aspect. That is honestly the next stage in esports. We got to get them a cryptocurrency. We have to get like a Moon Raccoon coin or something like that, so we can all
Moon
buy
Raccoons
into it.
needs like they need one sponsor who's just like a shady sponsor, like
a Rich Energy or something like that.
like
what
something
is your
you
drink
never
made of?
heard of, or something along those lines. That's what they need.
I think that's production 10. Let's move on.
Yeah, like eventually we want to talk about this. Oh, okay. We've come back from the moon with a fresh look for all of you. Oh, so they've got it. Man,
Introducing
I like that.
I love it.
Moon Raccoons collection.
Where? Oh, how did I not know about this?
I'm buying that today.
That's a good T-shirt.
It's actually nice.
Yeah, it looks good. It reminds me. It looks like something Travis Scott would put out.
It's nice. These guys are
Dope.
geniuses. They're the future. I'm telling you, man. Watch out for this team.
Yeah, I like it. And you know what? I think it would be awesome if they didn't have to worry about impressing teams and could do whatever they like. But you know, it's like the traditional approach. Like they do want to get signed, you get the structure. Like we talked with Mel, I should say, about all the benefits of being signed to an org. But that's being a professional gamer. These guys want to be pros, but they don't want to have to be a slave to the man. So this is the only team unsigned to make it to the top 16. They did not make it into the finals. Which is unfortunate. It would have been amazing. But there was a lot of great moments for them. So Matt, I mean, if we might as well talk about the team themselves, having watched them, or actually, well, we can even start with Veli. Veli, having watched this crew, what do you take? What is your elevator pitch on Moon Raccoons?
My elevator pitch. They just vibe and yeah. But no, seriously, no. There's a point I want to bring up. And hot take, whatever. I don't care. If Moon Raccoons didn't go against TSM and they took the other spot, I forgot who beat them in their group. Who else was in their group? I forgot. But if they didn't lose that game and ended up first in their group, they would have been at first strike. That's my hot take.
Oh yeah, like they seeded too high.
They seeded too low. They got second, and so because of that, they went against TSM. But the first team, I believe, they would have played against FaZe. Yes, and they beat FaZe before, and we know they can beat FaZe. And FaZe had a good tournament too. But Moon Raccoons, I think, are just on that level to where they are ready. But I mean, take a look at them and what they've been doing. Like the way Profi is set up to make plays and the way they execute it together is beautiful. Their chemistry, their aggression, everything they do is just top notch. And then the fact that they took it that far and they beat out teams in placement like Xset, NRG, Luminosity, Built by Gamers, Space Station Gaming, Dignitas. It's like, yo, this team is actually for real. So the fact that they're not signed yet actually blows my mind, Moses.
Yeah. What I want to know, and this is I'm a negative Nancy today. You know, I'm just gonna lean into it. Matt, is this a matter of maybe teams not taking them seriously enough to research them? Do you think, and they're getting one over?
No, I don't think so. I think everybody knows that the Moon Raccoons are a good team, a team that can actually kind of contend at the top. For me, like my pitch on the Moon Raccoons is like they have tremendous talent that can continue to grow, and they have a personality that may be unlike anybody else in the entire Valorant scene, where they clearly understand the fan base, they understand who's interested in this game and why they watch and whatnot. And I think this is a team that can easily be a fan favorite for a very long time. Where I think you give them more support, right? Like consistent salaries and structure and how far they can go. I think they can definitely be a team that makes a top 8 for an event like a First Strike.
I'm thinking of this team like Swole Patrol. That's my nearest facsimile team. Is like a Swole Patrol team that has a lot of great talent. It's almost like a jam band for a little while. And then they get signed, they go to like a Ghost Gaming or something like that. Ooh. But my question to you is, does Moon Raccoons maintain the magic if they get signed, Matt?
I think it depends on the org. And I think, take an organization that would understand what they already have and let them continue to lean into it and not change everything that's kind of already and been going on with the Moon Raccoons, to find that perfect partner who's willing to lean into it, get a little crazy and be a part of the ride that they're currently on.
Yeah. What do you think, Valley? Do you think Moon Raccoons can stay true to themselves if they get signed?
Yeah, they will. They will. My biggest fear, and I spoke about it last time I was on the show, is the fact that look at Sean. Sean's on Gen G now. And look at the fucking impact Sean is having. Sean is incredible on Gen G. This team is going to get picked apart. That's my biggest fear. This team is going to get picked apart because an org isn't going to commit to them yet, and that will break my heart. I'm hoping that an org can realize the potential that this team has and say, they let Sean go, and Sean's a star right now with Gen G. Let's sign this team because their value is just high. Like, we know what they're capable of. Because if you can, and you can just keep it fun for them, put money in their pockets, they're going to perform. People always do better if you put money in their pockets and just let them be themselves, period. I think they'll keep the magic.
I want to put a pin in that conversation about Gen G for a little bit later, but
Ooh.
I'm not entirely sure that Gen G is in a particularly great spot right now. Sean might be an excellent
Sean
player.
is good though. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Sean
Okay.
is good.
All right.
I'm
I was gonna
saying
say,
Sean's impact.
I could be a superstar for the Charlotte Hornets, and you're still on the Charlotte Hornets. Shout out to Gordon Hayward. So as far as the basketball references, no one gets but me. So as far as the that's good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I got it.
The next thing I wanted to talk about with Moon Raccoons is the credibility they have within the scene. And I think this is what is probably the exciting aspect. Is I one time went into Wardell's chat. And he recognized me and said my name, and that just filled me with such joy. Made me feel like a cool dude who also likes rap and sneakers, and saying multiple words I can't repeat on broadcast.
Trying to
so he's out there. He's tweeting, qualified for First Strike, ready for vengeance, and he also said Moon Raccoons, they're great players. Orgs should sign them.
Yeah,
and there's no better praise. There's no better praise.
Do it.
And that's we didn't even get the original tweet. We got the retweeted version from Rebo, who was just mashing a retweet over and over again while he was just yelling Moon Raccoons into an anime body pillow. So the Moon Raccoon saga is interesting, but right now they're kind of on the shelf because they didn't make it into First Strike, and we don't really know what's next for them. I imagine we'll be seeing them in the Nerd Street Gamers Winter Tournament that we were talking about earlier. But shout out to the Moon Raccoons, and again, I cannot go a Moon Raccoon segment without talking about Profi. I sent him a DM last night, just saying how proud I am of him because of the journey he's had, and the personality of Moon Raccoons is very, very similar to the Cloud9 PUBG team he was on for the longest time, where they were just having fun, yelling to each other, and I really do believe now that players like Profi and his positive attitude and team first. If you guys ever get the chance to meet him at LAN, you'll understand exactly what I mean. But he really is driving that positivity, which is really probably a big part of the Moon Raccoons identity. So now, before we jump headlong into First Strike results and qualifiers and everything else like that, we're going to take a very short break. Veli has got to switch bathrooms as I believe the truckers outside are getting upset. So we will be back in a couple of minutes as we get Veli situated somewhere else. All right, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Valoranting. I'm joined once again by Matt and Veli. We are now able to jump headlong into First Strike stuff, which has been a staple these last couple of weeks, but we finally moved past the qualifier stage, the gauntlet. The actual gauntlet if you play in EU. So let's take a look at the EU qualifier bracket as it is right now, where luckily now here in the round of 8, there is best of 3s happening.
Yay.
Yay. So for these haggard and weary travelers having battled their way through best of 1 minefields all the way up to where they are now, these are the qualified teams. Null Panky, Prodigy, Purple Cobras, and Team Heretics. Null Panky and Prodigy, we've seen them around. Purple Cobras need more DM. That was a match. That was a good match as well. These are kind of the outlier, like kind of fringe teams that definitely always get into events, but have a difficulty winning. Team Heretics, I don't know a lot about, but let's take a look at the matches here. I mean the Null. Is there any surprises here for you guys? I don't think not for me really. Not in this bracket. I don't know about you, Matt.
No, I mean I think one of the bigger surprises from Europe is Guild obviously not qualifying after everything that kind of went on with them in the G2 match. They don't end up making the main event. I think you're still pretty confident though in that roster moving forward, just because of the history of that team. But towards the end here, not really a surprise. I guess Null Pinky being still playing at this point, I guess would be the biggest kind of shocker, but they do end up getting across the line and making it through.
Zeke, man.
Yeah, a lot of great moments. Obviously, I think for me, Prodigy making it is there's no surprises here. I really don't have anything much to say. There's more to be seen from the finals participants. Let's take a quick look at the overall qualified teams. This is like EU tournament.jpg right here. So G2, Team Liquid, Fun Plus Phoenix, Summon FC, Null Panky, Prodigy, Purple Cobras, and Team Heretics. Obviously we can't see Bonk in here anymore, or some of the other teams we used to see all the time. Fat Fabrican, whatever happened to them? Shout out to Ryan Central. So I mean, yeah, this is it. This is the team. So to me, this is G2 versus the world, with Team Liquid and FPX kind of in the mix as well. Is there a world where any team other than those three wins this thing?
I mean, if you were to say there was like another team, it would be like Summon FC, but I think it'd be kind of a long shot. I mean, I think they can contend. Do I think they win? I mean, most likely to win, they have to beat two of those teams, right? So they'd have to be.
I've clearly been asking
very
Nah.
strong.
too.
Obviously, right? I feel like you asked that question just for fun. Because let's be real, ain't nobody asking that question. Like you got G2, and G2 is light years beyond all the competition in the EU, right? But then not only that, you got Fun Plus Phoenix. They're second up. These teams are better than Liquid in my opinion, and Liquid is just far beyond these teams. So I mean, no Panky, I like them a lot, but Heretics and all them, good luck, have fun.
I'll draw your
Enjoy
attention to the
spotlight.
show match.
Maybe it'll be
Remember
best
the
of
show match
one.
that happened.
Oh, the
You guys
show
remember
match, yes.
Remember the show match?
The
Remember that
5
one?
Jets.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I'm pretty sure Liquid won that one, didn't they? I'm pretty sure they did. I
Yeah.
think that's a pretty important aspect there. You got to keep that in mind.
But this is my thing, Moses. This is my question to you. What happens if these teams just don't compare to G2? What if like Liquid doesn't even make it competitive against FPX or G2?
So what if
stuff like
everything
that?
remains exactly the same? You mean?
Yes. Like, do you think like something in the EU needs to just like be
Like
shaken up?
break them up like a monopoly, like have the government come in and break up G2 or what?
just ban EU. Get them out of here. No, it's just I don't know. I'm waiting for, because you look at NA and the storylines, and you look at EU, man, and EU to me it just feels like it's lacking so much with competition.
Because they're all playing fucking Counter Strike.
Yeah,
That's so
the reason.
You'll see big roster changes, I think, all over the globe though after this, right? I mean, with
post tournament shakeup for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna see a massive post tournament shakeup. Like if G2 is still like just dominating and like FPX can't contend and Liquid can't contend, like some type of like Frankenstein super team between the two of them. Look at like Cloud9 and NA. Do we not think they're gonna make changes right after First Strike?
Yeah.
I expect like big sweeping changes with that team. So I think you expect big roster turnover everywhere after this.
Who is the Moon Raccoons of Europe? Where are the Moon Raccoons of Europe at? Where's the come up team that can get up there and qualify?
They're coming. They're gonna come eventually. They're all playing Counter Strike.
They're all like signed, so there's nobody that's like an unsigned.
Okay, I guess I
team,
didn't mean that. Like I guess I do kind of mean it that way. Where are the come up teams? Like where are the guys that are kind of barreling through the lower end competition?
I mean, I guess you look at like maybe like an Exile.
You're struggling.
Cobras.
You're struggling.
There's not really much of anybody. Yeah, I'm just kind of like looking through the list of European teams and like not really.
They're saying Summon in the chat.
I mean,
Summon FC.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you can kind of say that. I kind of put them as like a tier that like we already kind of know they're a bit proven and like better than that. But
yeah.
But also they're not breaking in. They're in the top 8. So Moon Raccoons was fighting to get into that top 8, but someone was like, okay, we're in. So then with the landscape, as Veli was just kind of illustrating, which is G2 above everybody else, how many of these teams would you need to shatter into a million pieces and put back together to put against G2? 2, 3?
2 or 3, yeah.
So out of the 8 total teams, everyone, like, I really think that EU has got a shallow ass player pool for and that is the first time in any esport I've ever followed where that is the case.
Well, Counter Strike is still massively popular in Europe.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
Maybe more reps and practice from best of 3 formats would kind of help out that region, but who am I? I'm just a caster.
Also, if you're a Counter Strike pro, why would you leave the ecosystem that you have in Europe to go play a new game in best of 1 formats to try
European
and get in?
Exactly. Like let me hang up my my 400K a year and my BMW sponsorship.
To go play open best of 1
Puma sponsorship. Yeah, open best of 1 qualifiers in a First Strike tournament.
Hell no.
Yeah, fuck that. Like no, thank you. Like I think the biggest one was Nitro leaving Liquid, and even then he was just like, I'm gonna go make my money. It's not like I'm getting less money to go and do this.
Right.
Like I'm going to California to live in the Cash App compound with all these,
play with his buds,
play with his pals. It's great, but if the European Counter Strike scene is just so dominating over their talent, and not to mention the regimen you need to have to get to that level is high. So it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, in European Counter-Strike, if you were to leave in a situation like how Nitro left, there's probably a lot of up-and-coming players in the European CSGO scene where NA is not as deep for CSGO. So if you're somebody like Nitro and you leave CSGO and it doesn't really work out in Valorant, you can probably find your way onto a good NA CSGO team rather quickly. I don't think that you would have many issues.
Yeah,
True.
It's like you have many steps on the way to the rock bottom of EU Valorant. Like, I guess I could go to a North American team, and if that doesn't work out, I could go to a North American Valorant team, and then maybe if that doesn't work out, I'll go back to Europe and play with Purple Cobras or something like that. It's like we're like a year away from any European Counter-Strike players. Like we have to wait for like the JWs and like the guys that are on the fringe right now who are on the last legs of their Counter-Strike careers in Europe to just fold it and come and play Valorant.
Were people shook to switch over because of the fact that before today there was really no roadmap or landscape? Could that be a possibility?
I mean, maybe, but it's not like you can't believe that Valorant didn't have a future anyway.
Yeah, you knew
No. We knew there was a future, but when it was going to happen.
Yeah, but you knew there was going to be something. Like I
heard rumors it was going to be a while though.
Yeah, but
this came way faster than the rumors I heard.
The orgs were, it wasn't like the orgs weren't spending money before this was announced, right? I mean, it was like if you wanted to play Valorant and you wanted a top player salary, you could have gotten one if you really wanted to.
So Ryan Central says, I do feel the better players in the EU are playing and undiscovered, but because you can't see it yet doesn't mean it isn't there. Yes, it does. That's exactly what it means. If you can't see it, if a tree falls in the forest, or whatever you want to say, like if I don't know, like if this person is like an ephemeral, like nameless person, Crusher 99 or whatever the F, just like out in the wind somewhere, then I don't care about that. I want to see now. I want results immediately. We live in a instant gratification age, even my good European teams.
I had an invisible best friend when I was younger. Are you gonna believe that too, Ryan?
Yeah,
I believe
my girlfriend's at 10. She just goes to another school. So anyway, let's talk about the region that matters. North American Valorant. First Strike, obviously everything has been set in stone there. We had the original brackets. Let's take a look at them. So this was the NA qualifier number 2. Pittsburgh Knights and Gen G qualifying through theirs. We have FaZe and Luminosity. And then we have Serenity and NRG. And one more. That's it. That's all we have.
Yeah.
So obviously the big we have, I want to actually, before we look at the overall, can we see the finals bracket first and then we'll go back? Sorry, Daniel. I want to see the total teams here first, and then we'll kind of work backwards. So this is everybody, and this is an insane if you love Valorant or watching Valorant, this is an amazing opening round. FaZe and Sentinels is going to be great. 100 Thieves and T1 is the premier matchup, no questions, no doubts. I can't wait to see that one. TSM and Renegades, then Immortals and Envy. I'm excited for the Immortals and Envy match as well. Actually, all of these matches have the potential to be awesome, except for potentially Sentinels and FaZe Clan, which I imagine is going to be a bloodbath. But that's okay. So let's start first, and we can go back to the TSM discussion here with their stuff. So TSM to me is kind of the journeyman team. Really, they have. I don't think there's anyone with more experience in tournament play than TSM. So the qualifiers for them, Veli, were just kind of, foregone conclusion.
Like, honestly, the fact that they didn't make it at first, but then they had to fight back. I mean, there was no doubt in my mind, and everyone else is out there in this universe at least, that they weren't gonna make it. But the one thing that I really liked about TSM, is drone, man. Like, the narratives about TSM since the beginning, since they were Team Myth, and is seeing drone go from, I think it was Phoenix, Sova, Breach, back to Phoenix, and then he's dominating with that. That's insane. Like, he added another element to that team with their triple duelist lineup. I think that, it wasn't too necessary, but the fact that they now know that they have a solid ass Phoenix that can go up there, and all this talk about Wardell, you got Drone you have to worry about now, and he's one of the best Phoenixes out there. I'm gonna say the best, you know what I'm saying? Like, shout out to D-Cop too. But it's incredible. This team, they're solid, man. There's like, in the way that they just rolled through phase in the finals, I turned it off. I was driving cross country. I just turned it off. I didn't even want to listen to it anymore. I was like, this is over. They're cooked. This team is going to be special. But do I think that they're still as dominant as they used to be, to where they used to run the ladder? No. That's why I said before the stream started, that second round matchup, if it happens, NV versus TSM, is going to tell us a lot about how good this TSM team really is now.
Yeah, I mean, I think from where I am, I'm a little bit scared of the teams. Like, look at how Cloud9 kind of faltered out, right? With you know, we talked about it a little bit last week, but these teams are kind of built around this like one-star player, where if you don't get some of the other players to play at that level or kind of exceed, you know, their normal, if they're not having the best of games, we see them falter, right? All it took was 2 maps for Cloud9. TSM, I don't think you're in as much of the same boat as Cloud9, but it's still kind of the same, almost like team type of formula, right? So I think going into the main event, you look at a lot of the other teams and how well-rounded some of those teams are. I think it'll be a real test for TSM, right? They've been one of the top teams really in North America since the beginning of Valorant. It's like, can they still stay there while everybody else has evolved and tried to level up their rosters over time?
Yeah, I think TSM is I think going to come into this as either the 1 or 2 favorite. There's no doubt in my mind. And that is just based on previous performance as well. So I think the question marks for me mainly are around what happens with FaZe. And before
they get beat.
They're probably going to lose. But you know what? There is a team that did qualify. That you know, they do a great job at this. They get into tournaments. They do stomp on the lower end competition, and then you know they struggle in the first round or two. And that's T1. And now
I knew it.
I've been a long time supporter of T1. Long time. Really, I can't imagine that there is any evidence to the contrary. But there is a video here, so let's take a look at it. An update to my fans and fans of T1. As you may have noticed, I haven't been playing with the squad in competitions, and again, we'll be competing in this weekend's event. I've been grinding to expand my agent pool and overall impact with the op, and we'll be back with T1 when the time is right. Also, when they get rid of the toxic people on my team who have been leaking team comms. But in the meantime, I'm going to be practicing with other teams to stay sharp. I'll be back soon and better than ever. So, again, a quick recap for the people who have been living under a rock and not heard us talk about this 1,000 times in the last 2 weeks. Skadoodle and T1 and the whole squad, Simo and Veli, have been in light turmoil basically every stage of the way from their own tournament. It's probably reached peak turmoil in the last couple of weeks, having team comms being leaked out about Skadoodle's performance as a player from Food and Crashies. Not to mention this, the potential CSGO match fixing stuff is a potential factor. Veli, this does lead and to cap this off as to what happened. Food and Crashies were cut. I've seen enough. So you might be hard to determine there, but I'm actually being very supportive of T1 in that segment. So this is the question here is this the time? Is this it? Is this T1's fine? Is this them reaching their final form here 7 months into Valorant?
I think they can be better than what they currently are right now. I don't think
we crown him yet.
I don't think they've hit their.
We got to put you on the DevComs video.
Yeah, I think I think they could be good eventually. Yeah, no, I still think this team has another level they can get to. We've seen Skadoodle play the best Valorant by far over the last few events and few games, and I think they're still working in Spider, who. We kind of haven't really discussed it that much, but obviously comes over from Overwatch, where he's playing deep into the season with the Florida Mayhem, and also is a Korean player on a North American roster, right? So there could be some kind of even though Spider does speak English, there still could be some kind of language issues there, just trying to break through that. We don't know, but I think you're starting to see him play better, Skadoodle play better, and I think you're starting to see this team level up to where we think they can go, or where we thought they could go, and maybe even past where we thought they could go. To be honest, because I mean, we weren't like, we kind of compared them to 100 Thieves, and we were like, well, they're like 100 Thieves, but their ceiling isn't as high. It's like, I still kind of hold on that. I still think their ceiling's not as high as 100 Thieves is, but they're starting to show some glimpses of potentially, breaking through where I thought they could get to.
I agree. I think that T1 always had a ton of potential. It was just how they approached the game initially was where I had most of my critiques, which is
Let's be
which is
real.
just not no. I said they had potential, but the way they approached it was bad.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, like the amount of tournaments they skipped and just assuming they were going to be awesome, and it didn't seem like they wanted to maybe work as hard as everybody else. And when we talked about in that segment back with Simo was what are they going to do once this next move doesn't work? If Skadoodle isn't able to come back, what is Skadoodle going to be like when he comes back? Because my assumption was that was going to be the first in a series of tweets that led to Skadoodle leaving the team. And that again, as a broadcaster, you look at it and you think, well, what is the best guess based on what I've seen and what I know about competitors? And the fact he's won the Boston Major and he had all these other achievements and all these other things. I wondered if Skadoodle was ever going to be able to get back to that level where he could ignite that fire and compete and practice and do what was necessary to be the top of a still highly competitive game. And I think he's now starting to show us what kind of competitor he is. And that is one that it can get through adversity and turn things around. At least as an individual. As a team, I don't know where they can go just yet. We need to see that full team effort, but they've made a lot of changes. So, Matt, do you think in that opening round, T1 will be able to take out 100 Thieves?
Take out? I don't think so. I think the game will be very close, though. I think if there's a team that kind of knows the 100 Thieves style of thinking and ways, I think it would be T1, right? Having that long-standing relationship between a lot of these players. But I would still favor 100 Thieves in this first round for sure.
I think 100 Thieves, this to me reads like a 2-0, but I could see a 2-1 100 Thieves here as well.
I think it's a very close series.
Is that a yep from Veli? Okay.
I don't know. I think it's scary because I'm gonna be completely real with you guys. The T1 that we saw, and I was on that train too, Moses. I said they was trash because let's be real. Court tells the truth. Shout out to Stephen A. They were trash. They couldn't beat teams that they were expected to beat. But what we saw during that qualifier, Skadoodle was a god. 50-50s were just 100% for him, right? If he's able to opt out of his mind continuously like that against the new pickups on the 100 Thieves, I think T1 has a chance. And not only that, I really love Spider and Brax. Brax with his retakes and the trust that his teammates give him on those retakes. Because let's think about it. How many times did Brax clutch it out to get these wins? Like big wins too. Like 2v2s, Brax walks into sight, able to flank out and just capitalize, execute. I think this team is different. They trust each other now. And, it kind of kills me because I was thinking, what if Skadoodle just got on Jet from the get-go? Like, the two guys they kicked off were great. This team could still be great. But I love what they have now. I think they can pull it off. It's a coin flip for me. I don't think we've seen even the potential of this roster yet. Now that, homie is on Jet and he's popping heads. It's a beautiful thing to see.
I like how we heard he wins 50-50s 100% of the time. That is some Veli math right there.
It's true, man. That 50-50s when he's on the heater, man. He was incredible.
Yeah.
And that, I didn't watch much CS, so really watching him pop off like that made me appreciate him more as a player. So I loved it.
You're gamers, man. I guess. Yeah. And this is. You know what? Fuck it. Was this C9 losing or T9 winning? Or sorry, T1 winning to you, Matt?
I think it's T1 winning. I think C9, what we saw from them is what we've really kind of seen from them over time. And they're always susceptible to having some of these games where, I know if Tens, how many times have we talked about it? Like where if Tens doesn't pop off, like they're beatable, this and that, right? Like, it's exactly what you saw. And there's so much pressure on Tens to be able to make things happen in a way that there's no pressure on like the pressure that they put on him is unlike anybody on any other team.
Yeah.
So I think
this
it's really
tweet
rough.
is interesting. This tweet is interesting. I think that this tweet is telling for many reasons. So let's just read it. Lost to T1, 0-2 GGs to them. No first strike for us. A frowny face. First map was really rough for me, but started to wake up near the end of the second map. Unfortunately, I couldn't bring a good performance early on.
He's not talking about the team.
He's not talking about the team. He's talking about himself, and that's not a knock on tens. And we dance around this subject all the time, and it really fucking sucks to have to say this about a bunch of good guys, but that is the tens show. It's the 10th show, and if the show ain't on, the team ain't on, and that is a fucking problem because it is such a massive. It's the Jordan rule. So you just got to take care of tens, and everything else will fall into place. And I asked the question: is it C9 losing or T1 winning? Looking at that, can we bring up the scoreline again, Daniel, really quick? Because it looked like C9 was like asleep at the wheel. I think Relics had 9 frags or something like that. But I mean, it's this is like sub 200 ACS. I mean, and 3 out of 5 players.
Let's put it in the perspective this way. Through all of NA first strike, so this includes the open qualifier for Nerd Street, the closed one, the open qualifier 1, the closed qualifier 1, and then the open qualifier 2. Even after all of these games or 10s, kind of, you would say like, or he would even say like underperformed, he still finishes with the highest average combat score, highest KD, and the highest ADR. The guy just played out of control.
He's insane. He's a carry. He's a hard carry.
And some of these stats aren't even really. I mean, I know his average combat score was 293. He played a total of 650 rounds. This is without the closed qualifier. The next highest is Roka with 264. And then in terms of KD, you're looking at like 10s at number 1 with a 1.54. Ziff with a 1.37 and Wardell with a 1.37 right behind him. I mean, he played out of his mind the entire time, which is just so sad to see him not progress to the main event.
Well, so to kind of round this back out, I mean, I guess we're talking about C9 anyway, but I want to kind of pull it one back towards T1. Do you believe that there is anything is the hype real for T1 going into this? Because just a quick reminder, they did lose 2-0 to FaZe.
We're excited the fact that T1 finally
made it,
pushed it.
They always finally but they always end up losing in the first round or something like that.
That's expectations though. Now that they've made it here to the top 8 for first strike, now that was an accomplishment on its own, right? I would never take that away from them. Now they have to prove it to us. Can they win against 100 Thieves, man? So that's the scary part.
You also knew if you're maybe they didn't know that the second place from this would end up playing against Sentinels round 1. If you won, you played against Renegades. If you lost that finals, you played against Sentinels. And I guess the kind of the lesser two evils is playing against 100 Thieves or Immortals. But I think Immortals just instantly slotted in there against Envy because they were number 1. But
right,
I mean, it was going to be. You're going to get a tough matchup either way in that first round, but maybe you didn't want to see Sentinels.
Hey, Moses, I kind of got a beef with what the discussion was. Not with you.
Which one?
But the question of did Cloud9 lose or did T1 win? I think it's bullshit. Like, let's be real. All 3 of us are on their talent. You got ex-pro gamers here, right? And you should never take away from a team that wins. Because at the end of the day, no 2 teams in any competition will ever play 100%.
You can fucking throw, Veli. You can throw. Think of it like turnovers. If you keep throwing the ball away, you're gonna lose. Yeah, it's your mistake. But you're giving the ball away. You're throwing.
But the skill is to maintain that consistency all the way through until you secure the victory. That's what makes you a great pro player. If you can't do that, then you're not a great pro player. You're inconsistent. You're gonna be middle of the pack. And the thing is, Cloud9, let's take a look at their play style. Kind of like what happened with TSM when they got upset at that first LAN. The one that faced it through. I forgot the name of it. I don't know why. But it's like that's the meta catching up with them, and that's why they changed things up. And TSM are better now. Take a look at how Cloud9 has always played. They've always been aggressive. They've always been like wet and wild. You know what I'm saying? And there's one round in particular that was a definition of Cloud9 and how it's gonna bite them in the ass when it's over with. They were taking A side on the scent. And you saw Tins run up there with Jet. He had the knives out, right? He's ready to cut him up. Raze throws a botch nade and hits the front box in front of hell. That messed up everything. No one, they're literally hoping that Raze and Tins just runs in there and kills everybody. Players peeked out from heaven and hell, clapped him. And it's like, there's no smokes, there's nothing else like that, no flashes. So when you're raw skill, kind of like the Warriors, you take a look at the Houston Rockets, you're a basketball guy now. If your raw skill isn't there 100% of the time, you're gonna get some hard losses, and those losses are gonna come when you don't need them to hit.
You were just underlining mistakes that they were making, though. Not using utility.
But that's the thing, though. No. But you're not hearing me out, though. Like, mistakes happen when you're a heavy aggressive team that really depend on that type of play. But that type of play didn't even actually work against this roster. You know what? If you're shooting threes all day, like I said, you're a basketball guy. Those threes are way harder to make. But
you were lost in the fucking weeds. You were lost in the weeds here. You're talking about 3-pointers now because that's the point.
Well, I'm saying it to where you can understand me. Like, go ahead.
It's okay. No, I think of it this way. Like if they're botching their nades and they are not peaking with utility or they're not using their utility,
change it up?
They can change it up. But if T1 is capitalizing on that, is that a boon to T1 or a mistake by C9?
You give it all to T1 because you know why? Because Cloud9, they could have easily adapted and changed things up if something wasn't working for them. And obviously, they kept it close even with all their mistakes, right? But they didn't get the win. So you give it all to T1. You don't take that away from them, period. People, like I said, no two teams are ever going to be at 100% ever in a game. So with that being said,
we got to bring the tiebreaker in. Matt, what do you think?
I think T1 definitely won the game, and I think there are mistakes in the Cloud9 side of things. But how many are those mistakes that are kind of like forced by what T1 is doing and like controlling the pace of the game, and then also somebody like Skadoodle playing like out of his mind, and same with Spider, really kind of neutralizing some of the firepower on Cloud9. So I think it's definitely. I think it's a T1 win. I think what it did, though, is show the glaring holes in C9's game. That's why you could probably look at it as,
that's what I was
did C9 lose this game? Well, no, I think it's just T1 exposed the holes in C9 so that it's so visible, right?
Yes. So visible. And that is the exact thing I was trying to bring up. Like, if your main play style isn't working, you don't change it up. But then also at the end of the day, we could say Cloud9 lost because they made mistakes, but no one has a counter for how many times T1 made mistakes. Cloud9 ain't the only
team
making
making mistakes for
here.
6 months.
I know, but you know what? They put out the win when it mattered, and that's what matters at the end of the day.
Well, Valley, it's been great having you on the show. Unfortunately, we're out of time. No, so
I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. I think that it's a great discussion, and I think that it's important. It's one of those things where we have to kind of sit back and wait and see, which is what is going to be so exciting about that 100 Thieves and T1 matchup, because maybe they're coming out of the cocoon. They're instead of little gross little moths, they're like a beautiful butterfly. We'll
slow it down.
We'll find
out.
Slow it
down. Let's wait to see.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. But I think the bigger question is, what does C9 do? Because there's guys like a Proto from LG. There's they're gonna have to they might have to get Henry G signing the checks for the Valorant team here pretty soon, because the I don't know, like Tens is like $1 million talent.
Yes.
I can't say any more than that. I can't finish that sentence without pissing a bunch of people off. So anyway, Tens didn't make it. It's unfortunate. I think that there's a lot to be said about that tweet he put out. Again, just talking about how he wasn't able to carry the team. I think that mentality is pervasive throughout the entire culture of C9. That it's Tens' responsibility, and I think he feels that maybe to an extent. And it's not healthy. It's not a healthy situation. Tens cannot carry that weight on his back, because it'll fuck you up mentally eventually.
And they'll be able to find look, Cloud9 with the organization that they have, and Tens as a player, they will be able to find players to come play with him. That will not be that won't be an issue here. It's just a matter of who it is, right? Where I think you look around, and I think there's even teams in the top 8, right, that you could have players who could end up finding their way to Cloud9 in some capacity. Do they want to kind of like bring in 4 players from a team already and put them around Tens? Do you want to just try and mix and match some players that you like from all over the place that you think could work around him?
Yeah.
It's Well, it's really going to be up to tens. I mean, I'm sure Cloud9 will go to him and say, "Who do you want to play with?" And he will give them a list,
Oh,
and
God.
they will go out and try and
wouldn't
make
ask
that
him.
list a reality.
I wouldn't ask him.
Valorant's
I think
LeBron.
they did that once already. That's why it took them 1,000 years to sign their first team.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that they need to be like, okay, Tens, we get
Well-
you're awesome, but let's get some other people on.
You
this
have more
club, maybe.
info now, though, on the players in the scene, though, than you did at that time.
Yeah.
You know who you'd want and who you need now, right? I mean, some players off the top of my head, just kind of like looking down like a list, like you look at like maybe somebody like Sean, right? Who just went to Gen G, but maybe he thinks he can like level up his game, right? Where Sean could be like a big time player. Somebody else from Immortals like a gangsta, right?
Are we forgetting that the Gen G looks like they're in shambles right now? Is that did anyone forget that?
I mean,
no, not at all. But they
No.
have good players on the roster, but the team is in shambles. I would agree.
Yeah.
So I think that there's some talent to be got for sure throughout the scene, but buyouts become the question now, and this is where the Gen Gs and everybody else starts rubbing their little hands together, because how can we turn a non-performing team into a little stack of money? We'll get the dollar bill on the fishing rod and lure Jack into an alleyway where he has to give a whole lot of money to make Tens have someone to play with. So there is the discussion right now is about in the chat is FaZe as a comparison to teams that wanted to play together out of friendship. This is the same shit that happened with Echo Fox and ex Dignitas and League of Legends, where they're like, let's all be friends and let's try and relive the magic that the original Dignitas team for League of Legends had, and it did not work at all. They just lost a lot. So I really don't think that it's great to have the idea that you want to play with your friends, but ultimately there's an investment, there is money at play, and it's the competitive spirit that is going to drive people to succeed, not chilling with the buds, as
Have
they
they
say.
proven themselves
Just
in any
vibing.
way though by getting the top 8 though? Like to you?
For FaZe, you mean?
Yeah.
No, I'm not disparaging FaZe. I'm talking about C9. Yeah, C9
Oh, yeah,
was
yeah,
the team that
that's
wanted to play together as pals, and they took a long time to make sure that that's exactly what they wanted to do and that they could succeed. And now over time, as everyone has continued to adapt and improve and have seen each other more often, C9 has remained stagnant, I think is the word, and now maybe have even taken a step back, not qualifying. Because the competition has kind of filled in around them with the Moon Raccoons of the world and FaZe and whoever else. So at what point do they recognize that? It's the same question we had with 100 Thieves. Is we talk about potential and teamwork and pedigree and all that stuff, and then we look at results. And 100 Thieves didn't have the results, and they ended up vacating everyone except for Hiko. And I think that is a very real possibility with C9 as well.
What's interesting though is like, I feel like you could see this coming with Cloud9. Like I feel like this was something that at least maybe from watching from afar, like you could kind of almost see like that these other teams were catching up to them at a rate where you weren't going to be able to get away with it for that much longer. Did I think they would still make the First Strike main event? Yes, absolutely. But I think this is something that even the team probably had to have an idea like, hey, people are catching up to us and we don't really have many other kind of tricks we can pull out. It's kind of what we got.
It's like
They've always been considered that way.
Yeah, it's like when you have the BFG or like the big gun in whatever game you're playing, and you have limited ammunition, and all of a sudden you spend it all, and there's still a bunch of enemies you got to deal with, and all you have left is your, and I'm sorry, Relics, your little Relics pistol, just like you know what I mean? So it's like it is what it is, but we'll see what C9 does. There's some changes that must be made from strategy or personnel. We'll find out which one comes first. So let's move on. Poach unfortunately was sick, very sick, to the point where he couldn't play. So there was some concessions made. Shout out to NRG for pushing back the match. Good sportsmanship there. Ultimately, Andbox was not able to overcome. But it sucks. It really sucks for Poach. It's one of those greatest fear things. It's like anyone's been on a show day or it's the championship Sunday, big day. You just don't want to have, you don't want to have to poop all the time. You don't want to be sick. You don't want to be nauseous. You don't want to have anything getting in your way. And to have something that you can do nothing about, which is an illness, To get in the way of something so important has got to be absolutely heartbreaking. It's not good. So luckily, Energy was good sports about it, but it didn't really matter. And at the end of the day, it was TSM winning the finals against FaZe in the qualifiers, which again we will review for you here, and which brings us to the overall bracket, which we will look at one more time. Let's pick our winners. So let's fuck it. Let's go full prediction
Let's
mode.
go for it.
Oh no, shit, we forgot something. Let's go look at Asuna's predictions. Let's not
Yes.
do what
Let's
Asuna
try not
did.
to make predictions like he did.
Yeah, let's look
No.
at Asuna's predictions. I forgot about that. Okay, so here's Asuna from 100 Thieves, making his predictions, which were 100% wrong, 100% all the way through. Not a single correct guess.
That's pretty funny.
So
That's
Asuna, when you're ready, man, and you're ready to make the jump to talent, I think you have what it takes. So when you're playing careers done, you definitely have the DNA of a caster with predictions like those.
Oh, now we get to do our predictions, which
Right.
hopefully don't end
Yes.
as tragically.
Do we want to keep track of these? Well, we'll have the video, so maybe we can extrapolate this.
Ooh, let's do it.
Okay, we'll start with Matt.
All right, so I'll take Envy over Immortals,
Okay.
TSM over Renegades,
Okay. Let's stay in the upper bracket. And then we'll go all the way to the final.
100 Thieves
Ooh.
over T1, and then I'll take Sentinels over FaZe.
Okay. So that takes us to Sentinels, 100 Thieves in the semifinals.
Yep.
And TSM and Immortals, you said?
TSM and Envy.
Envy. Okay. So TSM and Envy, who wins that one?
I would say Envy wins that one.
Ooh, okay. So Envy in the grand finals going up against the winner of 100 Thieves and Sentinels.
Okay.
Let me go with 100 Thieves.
So 100
here.
Thieves makes it to the
Yeah,
final.
100 Thieves Envy final.
Okay. That's okay. Put it in stone.
Yeah, put that one in stone. I feel all right about that.
Okay. I'll do mine. I'm gonna say Immortals. Envy Immortals is
Immortals.
is an interesting
Ooh.
matchup to me. I just don't want my bracket to be the same as Matt because I actually kind of like Envy more as that. So I'm gonna say Immortals. And I'm gonna take TSM over Renegades. I'm gonna take
Do it.
100. I'm gonna take T1. I'll take T1 over 100 Thieves. I'll take T1 over 100 Thieves. And obviously Sentinels beats FaZe. I just can't. There's no leeway there. And that brings us to Sentinels in the grand final because obviously they would beat T1, and then TSM Sentinels grand final.
Okay, there we go. Who's gonna win that match, though, Moses?
Who wins? Oh, did we do that one for Matt? Did we do?
No, we didn't.
Okay,
do
so we had
mine.
so
Okay.
yours was 100 Thieves and
Envy.
TSM.
Envy.
Oh, and Envy in the okay. So who wins that one?
You know, I really like this Envy team.
I do too.
I would say I think they are a very, very good team, and they're because they don't have the star power of some of these other teams, they don't get a lot of the love in the watch time, I feel like. So I think Envy makes a real name for themselves, and I think they win.
Okay.
Oh.
So Matt picks Envy to win it all. So I take in my finals matchup between TSM and Sentinels, I take Sentinels 3-1. And I'll even go to the score line, but I'll say
Okay.
I'll say Sentinels wins.
All right. I mean, let's be completely honest. Looking at the bottom side of this bracket, just do me a favor, get like a big hand on the screen, take Sentinels and just put them in the finals because that's just going to be it.
Really?
FaZe Clan. Yeah.
Man, they could trip over. They could trip over 100 Thieves very easily.
And look, so here would be my argument for the bottom half of the bracket.
Let's let him do his bracket.
Yeah,
first.
go,
Let's let him do his
go,
bracket
Belly,
first.
go.
This how I feel, all right?
You just murdered the whole bottom bracket.
I'm gonna be honest. I would think T1 has really good chance against 100 Thieves. I like both teams a lot, but I like T1 from what I saw that last game. If that's where they're at, I love it. That's what I want to see.
Man, you are you were putting way too much stock in that game. I'm telling you, way too much.
Listen,
now I'm interrupting. See, okay.
No, it's cool because you know what? If we've been saying that they're trash for so long, and I love to be shut up by the players. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be nice to them. I'm gonna let them tell me how good they are. Not not the community, whatever. So
Okay.
it's T1 against Sentinels, but Sentinels in the finals. Up top now, Immortals against Envy. Come on, Moses, man. Envy moves ahead. I love Renegades. I love them to death, man, but they're just not enough for TSM in my eyes. Envy is going to beat TSM. That's what I would like to believe. And then we're going to have an Envy in Sentinels finals. I wholeheartedly believe, and I want to believe this, that Envy is the best team in this bracket. Food and Crashies added to this roster was incredible.
You know what, dude? You were sneaky. You're first of all, you're going 2v1 with the envy pick. But you're getting the additional garnish of still buffing up the T1 fans. Like that is that is some bullshit. Okay, gutless is what I would call that.
I mean, you want me to shit on? I can shit on people.
I mean,
bro.
maybe
Tell me why FaZe doesn't beat or why FaZe can't beat Sentinels.
Because they're not that good. Let's be honest. Like we're talking about Sentinels and FaZe. Yeah. You know
well,
what? I love Baby.
I'm gonna go check and see which T1 players are following you on Twitter. Hold on a second.
Baby pops off. You know what I'm saying? But Sentinels is that's a championship caliber team, man. Like let's be honest. Like you look at teams, so you know which team's a championship caliber. Like TSM, even though like I don't predict them to be in the finals, I still look at them as a championship caliber team. Envy, they damn look like they could go to the finals. But Sentinels, they just had that pedigree about it, man. There's no reason, no doubt in my mind to think otherwise that they won't go all the way towards the end. They've shown that every time.
So just to clarify, you have Sentinels going beating FaZe and then eventually beating T1 to make it to the grand finals, and then you have TSM losing to Envy in their semifinal matchup, and Envy beating Sentinels in the finals.
That's what I would like to see.
Okay, got it. So does that not make yours and Matt's bracket very similar?
Yes, I have 100 Thieves though instead of Sentinels.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, we'll try. We'll put that up. We'll remember this moment later down the line when we're.
I can't wait.
When I'm reveling in my victory and Veli is desperately trying to explain why T1 went out in the first round. So
I believe.
Okay, I'm glad you believe. So now we have the dessert. This one is the announcement that came out this morning. This is a huge roadmap announcement for the 2021 Valorant Champions Tournament, or season, whatever you want to call it. Let's hear it from Riot directly.
Off of the rocket, takes him out from underneath.
Hey everyone, I'm Waylon Roselle, the Senior Director of Esports at Riot Games. We're just a few short days away from the start of the First Strike main event. But First Strike is just the beginning, and we're going to go big next year as we build out our sport. Today, I want to share what you can expect for Valorant Esports next year with the Valorant Champions Tour. This tour will provide expanded regional and international competitions that will culminate in a global championship featuring the best teams from around the world. Throughout the year, 3 cycles of Challengers and Masters events provide teams with multiple chances to qualify into Valorant Champions, our end-of-year World Championship and the biggest event of the year. The season will kick off with Challenger events in regions across the globe. These tournaments will run over the course of a few weeks, providing teams with open qualifiers from which they can qualify into the larger, more prestigious Masters events. Masters events will be larger, taking place only 3 times a year, and will feature teams who represent the best talent from their region.
It's a perfect rolling thunder!
While COVID-19 continues to impact international travel, Masters events will unfortunately remain limited to regional competition similar to First Strike. Trust us, no one is more eager to unlock international competition, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation closely for when we can safely pivot Masters events back to international lands. At each Masters event, teams will earn points that will count towards qualification into Valorant Champions, our end-of-year World Championship.
Double headshot and the third! A 12th round for Liquid!
Whoa. Champions will be the apex of the season, a 2-week-long tournament with the top 16 teams from around the world in attendance, and where one team will be crowned the first Valorant World Champion. We think the Champions Tour is the best next step to grow Valorant into a global esport worthy of your fandom. Thank you, and good luck to those of you who'll be fighting for the championship.
Awesome. That's awesome. Now, obviously, the underlying sentiment for me in this is fucking COVID, bro. Like, imagine how sick this would have been
Yeah.
without it. But anyway, I mean, we already would have had our lands and whatnot if that was the case. But we are looking forward to a pretty bright 2021 that has a fairly regular cadence of events. We actually have the structure here as well. Let's take a look at it. We have the pyramid of the pyramid of success. So the regional competitions of the Challenger Series, then you have the top teams that are like the First Strike event we're about to have, which is essentially the Valorant Masters rebranded, or Valorant Masters will be a rebranded version of what's happening with First Strike, and then they're going to get points and whatnot that will then seed them into the Valorant Global Championship, which is extremely exciting. So let's take a look at the Challengers format. So here, this one gets a little bit more complicated, but you can see here you have open qualifiers, which gets you into the Challengers weekends, and then you have the Challengers finals, which give you points. You have the qualifications as well. So 3 tournaments over 6 weeks, open qualifications for each tournament. Top 4 finish equal bypass the open qualifiers for the next event. And that concludes with the Challenger final. Top teams from the Challenger finals will qualify into Masters. Next slide, please. Actually, next video, please. Oh, no, wait. Next. Yeah, this is right. This works. 12 teams qualify into champions via Masters, 11 via circuit points, and winners of Masters 3. And the remaining 4 teams will qualify via last chance qualifiers. That leaves a lot of opportunities to get in and a lot of opportunities for redemption arcs as well. And here are you have the total slots on the right-hand side for a total of 16 teams for the global championship, which really, like, that is boiling down to the thing that we've kind of been waiting for. Global competition with a open system that leads to it. It is massively exciting. There's so much to talk about. We'll start with Valley. What gets you hyped up about this, dude?
Just everything. Just the fact that we can move away from the Ignition series and all that stuff to have like a tried and true system, because this is similar to what a lot of other, high tier esports do to really kick off their pre-esport. And, even though this is pretty dope, like you got to think about this. When I watched that video, I was like, this isn't even what they really had planned out for their real thing. And this already seems amazing. We already have the equivalent of Worlds. We have a build-up system that's open for people to really show their talent and rise to the top. And that's just pretty much it, man. It's just a breath of fresh air. It's fucking finally. It's here now. Then it is invite only best of 1 BS. Let's see who the best Valorant players in the world are. Like, as a talent, competitor, whatever. I'm hyped, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's lots to go off, Matt. I mean, do you think that this was the adjusted plan, like Valley suggests?
I don't think so, because I think this is a logical next step for where I believe they ultimately would want to go with this, is to have a program like the LCS, like the LCK, like the LEC. Like, this is a good bridge. Like, they don't want to jump into that right away, especially during the times that we're in right now with so much uncertainty. So what do? You run kind of First Strike 3 times with more opportunities for people to qualify. Global competition now, and it gives you a good bridge until they get to that point where I think they eventually will want to have like their own kind of leagues associated with Valorant, especially with how popular it's becoming all over the world. So I think this is a really good next step here for Riot, if that's kind of the goal, what they want to make happen.
We also, I'm going to say, you know what I'm imagining right now? So, I mean, yeah, this is cool to gauge interest in other regions and whatnot. Just imagine at the end of it all, when they have, the Champions event, and, they just have that big ass announcement. By then, they already know, where all the popularity is. They know where the most competition is, where they need to invest all this money
where they're going to hold it, you mean?
Exactly. No. Not where they're gonna hold it. I'm saying, like, when Champions happens, at the end of Champions, you have this grand finale of your pre-esport big event. Like, this is nowhere near what they really want. That's what I'm imagining,
we all know,
right?
We're driving the bus towards franchises.
Imagine the big announcement to their version of the LCS, the LEC, LCK.
Well, so that fits the calendar too, right? Where we were all kind of saying it's going to take 2 years for us to get to the franchise.
Yes. And I actually think the thing that probably needs to catch up here is the game. You can't franchise.
Throw back to the maps. We need maps.
Yeah,
man.
You can't franchise a game that has 5 maps. It's not really like a whole product yet, right?
Well, they franchised the game with one map.
I mean,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, League of Legends is a bit. I mean, 150 champions.
True.
You really don't have the depth and like the history of it yet, right? Where I think they need to flush out the game and what the game
They need
is.
B-roll for their announcement videos.
Yeah, I mean, but this is also it gives the development team a whole year to really kind of nail down like who this game is for, what it is, what the vision
works,
of it,
yeah.
what the vision of it is long term, because that's ultimately like what you look for in like an esport and a franchise, right? When you look around at all the other franchise leagues, like Call of Duty, you know what that is. Going forward, Overwatch, one of the biggest IPs in gaming in general. League of Legends, it's been a huge game for like 10 years. We still don't really know what kind of like that hook is for Valorant yet, right?
It's North America. It's North America.
It's kind of
That's
like
what it is.
yeah, I mean, I guess it's North
you think
American
about it.
tax shooter, right?
Yeah, it's like Europe has Counter-Strike essentially. Korea has League of Legends and China. Like Asia has League of Legends, and North America can have Valorant. I mean, it's the most exciting region. It's been kind of driving that way. I don't think it's going to. It might change a little bit over the next year, but so much stock gets put into what things are like the first 7 to 8 months to a year. So imagine like a Boston major type of situation happening, every 3 months, in a title like Valorant, which is leaps and bounds ahead of everybody. Not everybody, like not including Counter-Strike, but like as far as a regional esport, like you could attribute League and the other teams, or League and the other esports. Valorant could be truly a top tier North American esport where talent grows and flourishes and maybe even flocks to, depending on where they're coming from, the region.
Yeah, I think the only issue they would have, like kind of really blowing it out of the water in North America, as I'm sure Valley can attest to this. North America is so large in terms of like the console market. That's why Call of Duty does so well in North America. Is that's kind of where you really kind of even Rainbow Six does extremely well in the console market. You do kind of have yourself kind of pigeonholed into a PC tax shooter North American market, which isn't like the broadest, right?
It's
so
niche.
It's how do you get some of those other people from other games and different scenes involved in Valorant? I think that'll be their goal as a game and as a kind of program this year.
But I guess my thought is the from a North American kind of centric esport aspect is the watchability, viewability, whatever you want to call it. It has this momentum to it that I really don't know if the player. I would love to see some demographics and data from who is playing Valorant and where. Like,
Yes,
I would
yeah,
love
that
to
would be
see,
great.
I would love to see how it stacks up in Europe and Asia and that kind of thing. Now, obviously, I think North America still feels, and this obviously might be the North American inherent bias in me, but it does feel like Valorant is a bigger game in North America than anywhere else in the world right now.
It's a different game in North America compared to anywhere else.
I would say North America and probably like
Latin America,
LATAM, like Brazil is like probably their two biggest markets right now. Because you have to remember like Asia and Korea, they're still not in the PC bongs,
PC
right?
banks,
So they
yeah,
haven't
yeah,
really figured that out. And then Europe, I feel like, is still primarily dominated by CS:GO in a large stretch. So I feel like they have those two markets down, with NA and then LATAM. It's just kind of expanding it.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting, and it's I'm glad to see Whalen and the whole esports team come out with this. Now, obviously, we talk about maps and some of the other community critiques, but from a success standpoint and the adoption and the excitement, I really don't think that obviously, unless you subtract COVID and all the global pandemic implications, that you could have asked for a better start to what appears to be a very promising esports program. I can only imagine what things would have been like without COVID. But maybe it's in some ways some secret benefit. I don't know. But regardless, Riot's got a winner on their hands here, and I think you can tell by how quickly they're coming out. Be like, oh no, we got more coming. Don't worry.
Yeah, they know. Well, I mean, they know that. I think shooters is one of the hardest markets to kind of keep your fan base just there and happy
Keep
because there's so many.
shoveling skins in there. Just keep shoveling skins into the furnace.
It feels like every few weeks, so there's a new shooter, right? You know, you have your staples that are always around. You know, CS, Overwatch,
Call of Duty releases 2 games a year. Like
Call of Duty releases a new game every single year. Fortnite's always around. PUBG is always around. A game like Rogue Company pops up that has competitive aspects to it. And there's probably a bunch that are around that you haven't even thought of right now. Rainbow Six as well, right? I mean, that's another game that's out there that's really thriving as an esport. So like, there's so much competition in the shooter market that unless you're actively kind of have one of these leagues, you know, a really big, powerful league with franchising or whatnot, or just some kind of program, if you don't have anything going on, you become secondary really quick.
I would love to have an interview, and you know, if anyone at Riot's listening, I would love to hear from, like, we talked to Kazler, who's their business development guy, but I want to hear like from the guys who are just taking notes about what everyone is doing and making it better. I don't know if there's a singular guy at Riot who's doing that, but they seem to just, like, the marketing of Valorant when it first came out with the Twitch drops and the all the different influencers, the hype, the announcements, you know, going after CS, all the other things that came along with it, drawing talent in, the tournament structure, so many things that even over the course of like Dota versus League, you know, League of Legends came after Dota, and Dota 2, I believe, released just after or just before League of Legends did. I can't remember, but they were damn close. And to have Riot come off of really one game and turn it into now multiple successful titles, Teamfight Tactics, all these things, is really been incredible. And it's been off the back of adapting and just improvement, and that's kind of the structure that we live in these days. So it's been exciting. So Matt, we'll throw it to you. Final thoughts on the stuff we talked about this week. Anything else you wanted to cover?
No, I feel like it's just been a really positive week in terms of Valorant. You know, we obviously kind of whittled down the First Strike tournaments, you know, to our final teams, getting ready for the main event. But then we also know what the future is now, where one of the things that I'm most excited for is that the future seems way easier for newer people or people who just want to get involved to be able to follow. Where I think that's kind of where First Strike little missed its mark a bit. Where I know the games were great, it was just very difficult to find them, and it was very difficult to always be there to be able to watch and get the information, see the great play that you wanted to see. So I think all things going in the right direction here for Valorant.
I think so too. Belly, last thoughts?
Yeah, basically, like this is history. Let's be honest. Like, now that I'm in the league and I'm starting to watch CS, I've always said to myself, "Damn, I wish I was there at the beginning." You know, I missed so much on the history and everything else. This time, we've been here from the beginning. We've been watching the build up from Valorant this whole time. With First Strike happening, plus this 2021 roadmap, it's a beautiful moment, man. I'm excited, but I had a great time today. It's always fun talking Valorant with you guys.
Yeah, definitely, man. And I think that if someone were to inform Valve that they still have a couple of popular esports title in their roster, between the massive checks that are delivered to them via Steam, that, you know, we would be talking, you know, this would be a much different story. But I mean, in a vacuum, when there's something missing, someone's going to come exploit that. And Riot, aside from the maps discussion, has been knocking it out of the park basically at every turn.
Yeah.
So there's lots to be excited about, but that is it for us. We actually went a little bit long this week, so shout out to everyone for sticking with us.
Lots of fun.
And we have even more now. We have more to talk about next week as well. So be ready for that. We're gonna have some. We might even have some First Strike versus. Oh nope, not quite. We'll be just short of the First Strike tournament starting next week. But we'll have basically what will be the First Strike pre-show next week for you guys to talk about all the things we talked about today, except more in depth. So be back for that. For myself, Matt, and Veli, it's been an absolute pleasure. Don't forget to check out Do Not Peek on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and to find this cast anywhere podcasts are available. We are back here next week, Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. So until then, we'll see you guys out there. Have a great week, everybody.